All right, let's dive into this fascinating world of the gut. We got some excerpts from Super Gut by Dr. William Davis, and wow, this book is really something. It's really going to change how you think about health and well-being.
It really goes beyond the typical take a probiotic advice.
Yeah,
It's more about understanding the complex ecosystem within us and how it, well, impacts everything.
everything.
From how you digest your food to even your mood.
Okay, so Dr. Davis talks about this concept of Frankenbelly, which I love that term, by the way.
Very descriptive.
Yeah, and it really kind of gets to the heart of the state of the modern human microbiome.
Right.
What I found really interesting and kind of scary was how he connects things like, C-section,
Right.
formula feeding, the overuse of antibiotics,
Mhm.
and of course, our love of processed foods to the disruption of our gut bacteria, especially compared to our ancestors. It's kind of wild to think about how much our lifestyle has impacted something so fundamental as our gut, right?
It is. And the implications are huge. Dr. Davis links this disrupted microbiome to a whole bunch of health issues, and not just digestive problems, which you might think.
Mhm.
He even suggests that conditions like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, might be as common as type 2 diabetes.
Wow. That's a pretty shocking statistic.
It is.
It really drives home that whole message of gut health being crucial, not just for, like, oh, I have a tummy ache.
Right.
It's crucial for every aspect of our well-being.
Exactly.
It's about treating the root cause, not just masking the symptoms.
It really is about restoring balance.
Yeah.
This inner world that plays such a huge role in how we feel.
Absolutely. Okay, so the book talks about how, and this was a little bit mind-blowing to me, we've actually lost beneficial bacteria that were present in our ancestors.
Right?
And he talks about Lactobacillus reuteri specifically. What's so special about L. reuteri?
Well, research on L. reuteri suggests that it plays a role in boosting oxytocin, which is often called the love hormone, so that's really interesting. What's remarkable is that this bacteria, this L. reuteri, has been linked to thicker skin, faster healing, and even, get this, increased social connection.
Wait a minute, are you saying there's bacteria that can make us more social?
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our gut bacteria and all sorts of aspects of our well-being,
Wow.
including how we interact with each other.
That's incredible.
But L. reuteri isn't the only one we've lost. Think about Helicobacter pylori.
Okay.
It gets a bad rap because it's linked to ulcers, sometimes even cancer, but it also seems to offer protection against certain conditions.
So it's not as simple as just, good bacteria, bad bacteria.
It's not at all. It's so much more nuanced than that.
It's complicated.
Our understanding of the microbiome is always evolving. What we do know is that, losing certain species could have unforeseen consequences for our health.
That makes you think about all the other microbes that we might be missing out on and what potential benefits they might hold. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about something that, well, might not sound as exciting,
Okay.
but it's actually crucial for our gut health, and that is mucus.
Mucus is fascinating.
I have to admit, I never really thought of mucus as being, well, that important.
It's actually vital for our gut health.
Yeah.
It acts as a barrier, right, protecting us from those harmful microbes and toxins that could enter our system. So it's kind of like a security checkpoint, keeping the
Yeah.
bad guys out.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So then what happens when this barrier is compromised? What happens when our mucus isn't doing its job?
Well, that's where things get tricky. Our modern diet, with all of the processed foods and, really the lack of fiber that we tend to eat,
Right.
that can damage this crucial mucus barrier.
So we're basically sabotaging our own defenses.
In a way, yes.
Yes.
And here's where it gets really interesting, okay? Remember prebiotics. The fiber that feeds our good gut bacteria. Well, when beneficial bacteria, like Akkermansia mucinivala, are starved of prebiotics, they can actually turn into mucus lovers, feeding on our mucus layer instead.
So it's like they're so desperate for food, they turn against us.
It highlights how important a balanced diet is and having a healthy gut environment where these bacteria, get the nutrients they need from the food we eat.
Okay, so it sounds like antibiotics, as we mentioned before, and other factors can also disrupt this mucus layer, which kind of brings us back to that whole Frankenbelly idea. So what can we do to fix it? What can we actually do to restore the balance?
Well, that's where Dr. Davis's 4-week Supergut program comes in. He lays out a really comprehensive approach with 3 main strategies: preparing the soil, seeding the garden, and then watering and fertilizing.
I love that analogy.
It's very visual.
It makes it so much easier to understand what we're actually aiming for.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's break it down. What does preparing the soil actually involve?
Well, it's all about eliminating the things that are disrupting our microbiome, right? So that means cutting out sugar.
Yep.
Artificial sweeteners, those sneaky emulsifiers that are lurking in so many processed foods. We want to create a healthy environment where beneficial bacteria can flourish.
Gotcha. And so then what about seeding the garden? I'm guessing that's where probiotics come in.
Exactly. Replenishing the good bacteria through fermented foods, carefully chosen probiotics. Dr. Davis goes into a lot of detail about specific strains and their benefits.
Awesome. So we've prepped the soil, we've planted the seeds, now we got to water and fertilize.
Right. This is where prebiotic fibers and what he calls super fertilizers take a center stage. They nourish the good bacteria, promote their growth.
And what are these super fertilizers?
He recommends practical things like making your own yogurt to get a higher concentration of those good bacteria. He also suggests supplementing with vitamin D,
Okay.
omega-3s, and iodine,
Okay.
which can support gut health in different ways.
So it's really a multi-pronged approach
It is.
to really cultivate that thriving inner garden. But here's my question. What's in it for us? What are the benefits beyond just better digestion?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Davis argues that the benefits of a healthy gut go far beyond just digestion, and he connects it to mental and emotional well-being. He even highlights research that links bacterial LPS to depression.
Wait, are you saying that our gut bacteria can actually influence our mood?
There's a growing body of research exploring this link.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. And Dr. Davis introduces the concept of psychobiotics, specific bacterial strains that can impact mood, stress, and even social behavior, kind of like we touched on earlier.
Okay, I definitely need to hear more about this. We'll dive into this fascinating world of psychobiotics and explore the incredible impact of this super gut approach after, well, not a break, because we don't have breaks. We'll be right back. We're back, and before we, well, didn't go anywhere, we were talking about how our gut can actually influence our mood. It's pretty crazy to think about. These psychobiotics, I mean, that's a total game changer.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating area of research.
Yeah.
And Dr. Davis in Supergut actually delves into specific strains that show promise in, influencing mood and stress and even social behavior.
Okay.
Like, for instance, there's research suggesting that L. helveticus and B. longum can actually help to reduce things like anxiety and anger,
Wow.
while L. reuteri might actually boost empathy.
So we can potentially eat our way to a better mood. I'm all for that.
It's pretty credible.
But Dr. Davis also talks about, some of the challenges that we face when it comes to gut health.
Right.
And he uses this term, fecalization,
Yes.
which, well, sounds a bit unpleasant.
It's a descriptive term, though,
It is.
that highlights a serious issue,
Yeah.
which is, the spread of fecal bacteria into areas of the gut where they don't belong, especially the small intestine.
Right.
We talked about SIBO earlier.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of fecalization.
So instead of staying in the colon where they're supposed to be, these bacteria are kind of like moving up into the small intestine and causing all sorts of problems. What causes that to happen?
Well, several factors can contribute to this, and Dr. Davis really points to antibiotics as a major culprit.
Oh, yeah.
They wipe out a broad spectrum of bacteria, including the beneficial ones.
Right.
So it can create an environment where harmful bacteria can kind of take over.
So it's like, clearing out a garden and then all of a sudden all these weeds take over.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And it's not just antibiotics. Things like stomach acid blocking medications, NSAIDs,
Wow.
even just a diet high in sugar, all of these things can contribute to this issue.
Which I guess emphasizes the importance of that preparing the soil step.
Exactly.
Eliminate those disruptors, create that healthy environment.
Absolutely. Another significant disruptor that Dr. Davis talks about are emulsifiers.
Oh, right. You mentioned those briefly before. Remind me again why emulsifiers are so detrimental to our gut health.
Sure. Well, emulsifiers, they're designed to mix ingredients that normally wouldn't stay blended.
Right, like oil and water.
Exactly, like in salad dressing or in ice cream.
Yeah.
But those same compounds can really wreak havoc on the mucus lining of our gut.
Oh, wow.
So they're kind of like dish soap for our insides.
Yeah.
They thin and disperse the mucus. And that allows bacteria to actually get closer to our intestinal cells, which can lead to inflammation and other problems.
So reading those food labels, avoiding those emulsifiers, it's pretty crucial, right?
It is.
For protecting our gut.
Yeah.
What about testing? Is there a way to actually determine if we have SIBO or other gut issues?
There are several methods that exist to assess gut health. Stool tests are gaining popularity, but Dr. Davis does point out some limitations with those tests.
Like what? What kind of limitations?
Well, some tests don't actually identify bacteria down to the strain level, which can be really critical for understanding the specific roles that these microbes play in our gut.
Okay.
Also, while some tests can tell you which bacteria are present, they may not pinpoint where in the gut those bacteria are located,
Ah,
which is, a crucial factor for diagnosing conditions like SIBO.
so how do we figure out the location? I mean, is there like some kind of internal GPS for our gut?
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But there's a simpler method. The book highlights a device called the AIR device, which measures hydrogen gas in your breath.
Hold on. Breath hydrogen. How does that tell us anything about our gut?
It's based on the fact that certain bacteria produce hydrogen gas as a byproduct when they ferment certain foods.
Okay.
So you consume a specific sugar or prebiotic fiber, and then the AIR device measures how quickly that hydrogen appears in your breath. So a rapid appearance indicates that those bacteria are actually residing higher up in your gut.
So it's like a trail of breadcrumbs.
Yes.
Leading us to the source of the problem.
Exactly. It's revolutionizing how we assess gut health, especially for things like monitoring SIBO.
Wow, that's pretty ingenious.
You could even use it to, track your progress while you're treating SIBO or detect any recurrences.
Very cool. Okay, so let's talk about treatment. We've already touched on the Super Gut program, but what about specific strategies for tackling something like SIBO? What does he recommend?
Well, Dr. Davis recommends a multifaceted approach
Okay.
that includes, a course of herbal antibiotics to target those harmful bacteria in the small intestine.
Okay.
He outlines a couple of different regimens, typically involving a combination of potent antimicrobial herbs that you take for about 2 weeks.
So it's like sending in a specialized team to take out those troublemakers.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He also stresses the importance of breaking down biofilms.
Biofilms, what are those?
Biofilms are these protective layers that bacteria can create to make them resistant to antibiotics.
Ah, so they're like building little fortresses.
Exactly, to protect themselves.
Clever little buggers.
They are. And so Dr. Davis suggests using N-acetylcysteine, or NAC,
Okay.
which has been shown to actually disrupt these biofilms and make the bacteria more vulnerable.
Awesome. So we've dealt with the harmful bacteria, then what?
Well, treating SIBO isn't just about eradication, right? It's also about restoring balance.
So bringing back those beneficial bacteria.
Exactly. Repopulating the good guys.
Yeah.
This is where the Super Gut program comes in, with its focus on fermented foods and probiotics and prebiotic fibers.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where those good bacteria can flourish and outcompete the harmful ones.
That makes a lot of sense. What about SIFO, that fungal overgrowth that we mentioned before? Is that treated in a similar way to SIBO?
There are some parallels, but the specific strategies do differ. Dr. Davis recommends antifungal agents, especially curcumin.
Curcumin, that's the stuff in turmeric, right?
That's right. It has potent antifungal properties, and it works particularly well against Candida species, which is a common culprit in SIFO. He also suggests using food-sourced essential oils,
Oh, interesting.
like cinnamon, clove, oregano, and peppermint.
So we're harnessing the power of nature's pharmacy here to fight these invaders.
Exactly. These essential oils have really powerful antifungal properties and can be quite effective when used correctly.
I love that. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. From the, kind of disrupted state of the modern microbiome, the factors contributing to it, and some strategies for restoring that balance. What other key points does Dr. Davis really emphasize in the book?
He really stresses the importance of a holistic approach.
Okay.
Highlighting that gut health isn't just about digestion. It's connected to various aspects of our well-being. Our immune system, our mental and emotional health, even our skin health.
Right, so it's not just about, regular bowel movements and avoiding bloating.
It's about feeling better overall.
Yeah.
Having more energy.
Even looking younger.
Exactly. He makes a really compelling argument for prioritizing gut health as the foundation for overall well-being. He even includes numerous recipes in the book.
Oh, recipes. Now you're speaking my language.
To guide readers on putting these principles into practice.
So we're not just getting the science, we're getting practical ways to incorporate these gut-boosting foods into our lives.
Exactly. He provides detailed instructions for making your own yogurt, with specific bacterial strains, smoothie recipes packed with prebiotic fibers, even main courses, and desserts that promote gut health.
Okay, I am officially on board with this whole super gut revolution. It's way more than just, your typical eat more fiber advice.
Yeah.
It's a deep dive into this fascinating world of our gut microbiome with, real tangible strategies to take control of our health. I feel like we've learned a ton. What's next?
We have much more ground to cover. After, well, not a break, we'll delve into some real-life examples from the book of people who've experienced remarkable transformations by following this supergut approach, and we'll leave you with some final thoughts and actionable steps that you can take to start cultivating your own supergut.
We're back, and I am so ready for some inspiring stories. We've talked about the science behind supergut and the strategies Dr. Davis recommends, but I want to hear about the real people,
Yeah.
those who have seen amazing results using this approach.
Absolutely. Dr. Davis includes some really compelling success stories in the book, and they really showcase the transformative potential of this supergut approach
Yeah.
for all sorts of health issues. One that really stood out to me was a woman in her 60s who had been struggling with obesity,
Oh, wow.
prediabetes, and arthritis for years.
Oh, man.
And she followed the supergut program, and she experienced significant weight loss. She was able to come off of several medications and even saw dramatic improvements in her arthritis symptoms.
That's incredible. It makes it so real when you hear about someone actually reclaiming their health by making these changes. I bet there are tons more stories like that in the book.
So there's another one about a man who was battling chronic fatigue and brain fog.
Hmm.
He'd been to countless doctors, tried so many different treatments, nothing seemed to work.
Yeah.
But then he implemented this supergut program, and he felt like a brand new person. His
Wow.
energy levels just soared, the brain fog lifted, and he just had this newfound vitality.
That's amazing. It really highlights how deeply our gut health impacts every aspect of our well-being.
Wow.
What other stories stood out to you?
There's a really moving story about a young woman with severe cystic acne that had plagued her for years.
Oh, man.
She had tried every conventional treatment out there, nothing worked.
Yeah.
But once she incorporated the supergut principles, specifically making and consuming the L-Reuteri yogurt that we talked about,
Okay.
her skin began to clear up significantly. She even noticed a reduction in scarring.
I struggled with some skin issues myself in the past, so that story really hits home. It just gives me so much hope that by focusing on gut health, we can address seemingly unrelated problems.
Yeah,
It's all connected.
it really is. That's the beauty of this supergut approach,
Yeah.
It empowers us to take charge of our health by understanding and nurturing this incredible ecosystem within us.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered the science, the strategies, and even heard some incredibly inspiring success stories. As we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways you want our listener to remember?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that a healthy gut is about so much more than just digestion. It's fundamental to our overall health and well-being. It impacts everything from our immune system to our mental and emotional state.
Right. It's like that saying, listen to your gut. It's not just about intuition, it's about actually paying attention to the signals this crucial part of our body is sending us.
Exactly. And while our modern lifestyle definitely presents some challenges to our gut health, Dr. Davis's Supergut program offers these practical and actionable steps that we can take to restore balance and cultivate a thriving inner ecosystem.
We're not powerless against Frankenbelly.
Not at all. We have the tools to take control and create a healthy gut environment.
I love that. What's one simple change our listener can make today to start nurturing their own supergut?
I encourage everyone to explore the world of fermented foods.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's adding sauerkraut or kimchi or kefir to your meals, or even just trying your hand at making your own homemade yogurt. These foods are packed with beneficial bacteria that can really help to replenish your gut with the good guys.
That's such a delicious and accessible way to start.
It is.
And who doesn't love a good kitchen experiment?
Exactly. And remember, cultivating a supergut, it's a journey. It's about making gradual, sustainable changes that support a healthy and thriving microbiome.
I love that. This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the power of my gut and how to take care of it.
It's a fascinating and rapidly evolving field, and this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Yeah.
The knowledge you gain will really empower you to make informed decisions about your health and well-being.
Absolutely. So as we wrap things up, what's one final thought-provoking question you want to leave our listener with?
Okay. Well, considering what we've learned about the profound impact of our gut microbiome on literally every aspect of our health, I want you to ask yourself this. What small step can I take today to create a more hospitable environment for the, well, trillions of tiny creatures that call my gut home?
That is a great question to consider, and it's been a pleasure diving deep into supergut with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us on this exploration of this fascinating world. And until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those good gut bugs.
Did you get any of that?